And welcome back, Southeast Asia, to what is now going to be the finals of the wildcard event, wherein we'll be figuring out who will be the final team to join our three national finalists in the grand finals of the Valor Cup. But before we get into that, we'll be introducing ourselves as your casters for today. Arctic at your service, fam. With me is Rockhart, and man, what can you talk about this matchup? Because WIL Era has been absolutely phenomenal during the group stage round robin. Will Resurgence getting a little bit of energy back by ending on a high note against the Malaysian team earlier?
Yeah, that's right. And it kind of feels good as Resurgence to have these kinds of games against MH Alpha. And what we're looking for is who has the better morale at this point, because you have a team, WIL New Era, who has absolutely dominated both in the matches and in the drafts. Absolutely on the drafts as well. I think they have this power within them that they have the ability to foresee a lot of teams. I think it's not just like foreseeing. I think it's more of preparation. I can see that WIL New Era looks like they watched a lot of games of their opponent teams. They look like they prepared for drafts very easily. They always stole picks as much as possible to throw the enemy off their game. That's something that's really advanced for teams to do. Not just pick the champions or heroes that you're comfortable with, but rather go for the picks that you know that at the same time you're good at them, but you're also disrupting the enemy team.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, I'm wondering though, because let's go ahead and look at the scenarios here, because for WIL New Era, immediately played off the first two matches of the day, won both of them, even with the forfeiture of that one game. Still, they won that one though, in all fairness. So
that
it's like a technically a 3-0.
In the best of three.
Yeah. if
that is amazing. That is actually amazing, isn't it? That's like if that happened to, for example, a mediocre, a less versed team, they probably would have like fallen off a bit or a bit, but no, WIL New Era absolutely just kept their mental fortitude right on track and took the game really, really well as well.
It's kind of like one of those speed bumps in a way, like you're going at a fast pace, but no, you still get afterwards.
And you're on that buggy and you kind of just want to slow down if that happens, but instead of slowing down on the hump, you just go turbo and you win the whole thing. So that's pretty amazing for WIL New Era. Meanwhile, Resurgence.
Oh yeah.
You have to talk about Resurgence, how they won that so clean with a 2-0. It didn't even look much of a fight at the end of it. It's just Resurgence surging. The Resurgence surging through their fight. And I think you kind of have to give them props as well for that. Bouncing back after devastating losses in the earlier parts of the day.
Yeah, and I think that's what I kind of like about Resurgence, even though they had quite a beating against WIL New Era. Regardless, heading into the duration, because they had a tad bit of a break in between while Philippines and Malaysia were playing that out. So I guess
maybe that also factors into that. We will never know, but we did see that they did look like they were playing really, really fresh. And I like that. I like a team that can recover really well, especially in long series such as this, where usually you'd have a whole tournament in a day. That's a really good sign of a team that has prepared. That they're just like, okay, we arrived here, we're gonna do our best. They look like they prepared for these long stretches, and they do look like they look fresh and they look powerful as ever.
And I think a tad bit of a bigger question especially for our challengers out there is, will their recuperation, being able to topple Malaysia, be actually enough to face WIL New Era once again? Take note, guys, this is a best of 5 that they'll be entering now. So if anything, I feel like momentum is definitely a little bit more towards WIL New Era, just because they haven't dropped a single game with the exception of that forfeit. But even with that forfeit, they won. So well, I guess we'll find out as time will tell within the pick and ban phase. No surprise, Sinyalis Wall going to be taken off from Resurgence's hands. Once again, this has been a hero that has granted them much success during their run in their own local Valor Cup. So no surprise that we're just going to continue to ban that out.
Yeah, in all fairness, both teams recognizing Senyal's power. Of course, Chognar is going to be taken out again from Resurgence. This is going to be classic. They did take out Alex on the first rotation, and now Senyal will be paired, L'Oreal will be paired with this Chognar. Very scary for WIL New Era. First 3 picks that they have, they look like they already have a full team comp. with the Malok in the front line, with Malok and Chalgar in the front line, backed off by Senyo. Sorry, L'Oreal. I keep mixing these angels up. So what's happening right now on the other side, though, they're countering it with a lot of long range and support ability with Alice and Violet. We've seen these two make wonders in combination in team fights, and I can't wait to see how Resurgence plays around the Vile, because we know if you have a Vile on your team, you kind of want to go in this style where you want to invade as much as possible into enemy jungles, try to take their blue, try to take the red as soon as possible, get that Violet rolling, and basically a Violet with the blue and red buff is amazing.
I'm wondering though, with this composition, interesting, we have the double marksman, and looks like in order to fulfill the more tankier role, Resurgence went with this Tara. I'm not sure how that'll fare. I feel like there are quite a number of tanks that could have easily fit the role, but then again, looking at what WIL Nu'ir was able to draft, like some of those picks could have potentially been the Chognar, maybe the Malok, the Lumber, but WIL Nu'ir pretty much took that off the table from Resurgence to have potentially taken that. So I'm interested in seeing how the Singaporean squad will execute towards this particular draft, because at the end of the day, I'd kind of slightly prefer WIL Nu'ira's, even with the Alice pick on the side of Resurgence.
That's what I was thinking. Like, okay, great. You kind of separated Chognar from Alice, which is like the best combo that we can think of right now. But so far, what they have drafted is around like one all-in fight can end a whole team fight with Malok and Lumber ultimate zoning, creating zones for this L'Oreal to play around, as well as the Murad. And you guys know why. Before L'Oreal arrived in our servers, Murad was always banned in all tournaments because of the amount of power that he can do in team fights as well. So that's something that we can have to look forward to.
Exactly. And I don't know, man. L'Oreal and Murad on one composition. It's the best of both worlds for WIL Nu'ir right now. But let's go ahead and see how it'll fare for them if they could capitalize on just that advantage with the draft that they have as we head into game one. Once again, this is the best of 5 finals between WIL Nu'ir of the Philippines versus Resurgence of Singapore. Take note, guys. WIL Nu'ir, very clean take through the entirety of the group stage, not dropping a single game. Resurgence was able to get their groove back after toppling the Malaysian squad 2-0.
That's right, and of course, we also want to look at what the win conditions are for Resurgence right now. We have a double marksman composition again. The front line is just a Ta'ara. We'll see how that works. Rubix right now is getting caught off by the rest of Resurgence. The rest of WIL Nu'ir try to respond, but right now they are in the middle of a big team fight.
Yeah, unfortunately, Rubix is going to get taken down. Was not expecting that Lubu to be on the side of WIL Nu'ir's jungle. That's going to be 2 kills right off the bat. Going to the side of Resurgence. Looks like they're not just yet. 1717. He's in a bit of a tussle there, and that's going to end totally for the Singaporean squad on a higher note. Almost losing out on that L'Oreal as well. Could have gone way worse.
That's right, and this is exactly what I was talking about just a few moments ago. Invade those jungles, get the buffs into the Violet as soon as possible, feed them to the Violet, and make sure you can get the push. That is the win condition here for Resurgence, and they seem to recognize that they are using this, and they are going to start toppling on the bottom lane and outer turret right now.
Quite the fluid rotation right here, easily going for that turret. Looks like Rubix and 1717 are going to make their way to make sure that the turret isn't taken down just yet, but that's going to be massive if Resurgence manages to take that early turret right off the bat, because it does give them much more better control over the Abyssal Dragon, and I don't think that's something WIL Nu'ir doesn't want to give up under any circumstances. We have seen how much a priority that objective is to them once they do get a better rotation or a better pickoff against their enemy team, so we'll just have to see how that goes down.
That's right, and for speaking of rotations though, I think it's good that Resurgence kind of recognizes the power of their composition. The power of their composition is definitely way in the early game, where they can utilize the triple 1 skill of Lubu into a massive knockup before hitting level 4. That's how they got the win on that red buff area. And right now, WIL Nu'ir gonna get caught up again. Rubix on this Lumber, he's just at level 2. He's not gonna be able to do much.
Yeah, Lucky, look at this. Very gutsy. Looks like Gambit takes so much damage. Just one more hit and boom! Ace! Landing it right then and there. That's gonna be another kill under the belt of Resurgence.
Sniper shot there by Zace. So right now, they have Abyssal Dragon control. This is gonna snowball further. The double marksman composition. You have a Joker, you also have a Violet, but they're gonna go for it. WIL Nu'ir steals the dragon.
Yeah, that's going to be the steal right there. Lucky in on Will Nuir. Just a little bit of a small build-up to try to maintain that equal playing field against Resurgence. But I'd have to agree with your point there earlier, Rocket. With this double marksman, definitely working quite well for Resurgence. If anything, I'm feeling a new vigor from the Singaporean squad that was kind of absent within the early frames. You know, just a little bit of a warm-up during that match 1 during the group stage. But now it looks like they've kind of figured out their groove heading into this, and Will Nuir, they definitely have their work cut out for that.
That looks really good. And right now, I think Will Nuir is actually behind because at this point, see right there, Rubik's just hit level 4. A lot of those fights, he did not have an ultimate. And Lumber without his ultimate is kind of super lonely. You want to have your ultimate ready to set the fight. So right now, Resurgence going to get cut in half by a really good, really high-level Miggy. And actually, that's what... That might be the saving grace here of Will Nuir. We'll have to see how far Miggy can fight.
Yes, looks like Aris going to get caught out. 3 members of Will Nuir easily committing to that takedown. Lunky will be able to escape quite safely though, but then again, we are seeing some proactivity from Will Nuir to try to get back on this equal playing field, and that's going to be a buff steal as well. Meanwhile, 1717 has this work cut out for him here in the bot lane. 3 members of Resurgence easily going to take down that third, and that's what I'm talking about right there. Definitely gives a little bit more of a stretch for Resurgence as far as control towards this bottom side of the map.
That's right, and of course, 1717, we have seen him on Chognar in the first games. He was able to zone out so many people. It's just that he can't do it right now. He did that because they were super far ahead. I'm waiting to see what he's going to do now that they're a bit behind.
Yes, meanwhile, Rubik's, yeah, so that was 4 members of Resurgence going in on him, trying to walk this out, but looks like Gambit, as well as making a try to dish out the maximum damage, taking full advantage of the members of Resurgence, just clumped up right there. Lunky and this Violet, they're kind of on the run for their lives here, but it looks like they'll manage to escape just fine, but still, great capitalization on the positioning of Resurgence there by Will Nuir.
Also a Abyssal Dragon to boot. That is exactly what we were talking about. Will Nuir just waited for a big fight with all her ultimates, and once you drop all your ultimates, that is a game win for you. Once you successfully pull off everyone, once you have L'Oreal in the ultimate, in his ultimate zone, and once you have Miggy spam on that Murad, it's gonna be a huge damage threat, and that's something that that Resurgence is gonna have to deal with. Meanwhile, again, that's up to Will Nuir on how they execute that. If they can pull off that combo, they can destroy 3 members right there on the screen. 3 super squishy members if they can pull it off. Like right there! That's what we're talking about. Miggy, 1 ultimate on that Violet, instant deletion. That's what they have to look for.
Man, Zace just got annihilated there. And
whoa, there
this is not the first time that we're seeing Miggy just pop up above and beyond in this wildcard. Look at his standing right now. Earlier, Will Nuir was in a minor slump that they could have easily climbed out of, and that's what's happening right now. Miggy just leading the charge for Will Nuir, sitting at a 4-1, and that's going to be another kill for him. This is just like highlight reel after highlight reel for this
Miggy with the hero plays, but it's just so amazing. Like, how can Miggy catch those off guard? That's a problem with Resurgence. I think they went a bit lax. And right now, another assassination attempt got just barely out of there. And I think they just want to take it slow at this point. They do have great tempo, and they just almost equalized the gold lead that they had earlier. That was a free K. Now it's nothing.
And you know what's interesting here, Rockhart, is that if you think of it, if there's one thing that Resurgence wants to kind of avoid is, as far as positioning goes, you don't want to stay too clumped to each other to allow Gambit and Miggy to deal the maximum damage that they can. Not just
That's
that,
right.
but get set up by Benz, Rubik's, 1717 can easily capitalize on when Resurgence is grouped up together. But when they're separated, they lose out on Dai potentially getting mispositioned by providing the utility. So it kind of goes both ways here for Resurgence. They need to find that balance with the positioning.
Rubik's though,
just gonna get dived in. Looks like he'll survive to tell the tale for now. Luckily was saved by Dai. So good play there by this Alice from Resurgence.
That's right. A lot of ultimates were expended to create a safety zone there for Resurgence. But right now, what will Nuir do? What will Nuir do? That is pretty good. So they can actually take gold, most likely, from the Abyssal Dragon. Or maybe they can try to pick off someone, which I think they're trying to do to capitalize on right now. Benz is tanking 4 members, almost 3 members of Resurgence on top, while the rest of his team takes the Abyssal Dragon. Excellent macro play there from Will Nuir.
Man, what a massive comeback Will Nuir is able to mount, even at a deficiency earlier, but it looks like Ben's gonna manage to ward off the members of Resurgence from taking that turret. But then again, this is just temporarily for Will New Era in a way, because
They're still not out of the woods yet.
exactly.
Absolutely, because they really need to make cleaner plays right now, and they just need to make the assassinations. I think they're gonna rely a lot on Miggy, and it's up to Resurgence to recognize when will these assassination attempts happen, and they can use Die on this Alice to maybe starve it off. And right now, Miggy is going for the hero play again, but he will be silenced.
Yes, we'll be a little bit into deep there. Rubix is in the vicinity to support him. Luckily, he does not go down. That could have gone way worse here for that assassin. Meanwhile, looking towards this bot lane, Aris is continually shoving out this lane. 1717 is pretty much there to deal with just that, but then again, it is a little bit of a tricky part right there with that constant pressure towards bot lane. Well, 1717 could have been doing better things here, but you know, you have to deal with that rage.
That's right, and of course the power of Resurgence as well is with that Ta'ara. He can split push really well. Even by himself, he can try to bait as much power. Right now, Lunky almost got caught out, and we'll have to use the Hizzy Fit with the Alice in order to make room. Oh dear, Miggy dominating, and he just killed off Lunky so easily.
Yeah, it looks like that's going to be the set coming in from Benz. Fortunately, the rest of Vilnier have to back away. They are very much low on the HP bar there, but I guess it's just a good maneuver for Benz to keep the members of Resurgence at bay. But wow, this is absolutely insane. Benz is just taking it like a champ.
That's right, and Miggy just playing around there like so playfully, so casually. He's super low, and he just baited a lot of aggression from Wachi. And I think this is so far so good for Will New Era. They're keeping up the pace and they're not losing out. And right now on the bot lane, Aris is just duking it out 1717. We can expect a lot of this to happen as the game progresses. Whoa, damage output there by Miggy. Seriously, someone stop that Murad.
I know, and I love this play coming in from Miggy, taking full advantage of just going for these squishies on the side of Resurgence. Those are 3 prime targets that he could take advantage of, ladies and gents. Wachi and Aris, probably not as much, but as long as he could take down Dai, Zaze, Lunky that early on in teamfights, then that's just a massive cripple to Resurgence as this goes in the long term.
Yeah, and the thing is, that's just Miggy alone. That he can do so much, he can take out so many people just by being alone, that you have to wonder what will happen in the team fights where Miggy fights multiple. Oh dear Lord, Ben's ultimate got cancelled by the Hizavit of Dai. That's another kill going over the Resurgence. They're making a great comeback, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, great rotation here, going towards the top side to immediately take down that turret. Looks like they want in on Miggy. Rubix as well as Gambit is in the vicinity though. Gambit might want to be a bit careful there. Is going to go straight in. Rubix going to supplement him by holding down the fort onto the members of Resurgence. He's trying to back away though, very, very low on health. Miggy's going to go straight back in. They're going to go for a dive. He goes down. Wachi might be the next target here. Very low members. Take note of the health bars dwindling from the side of Resurgence. That's going to be the takedown, but no, unfortunately, just overwhelming coming in from Resurgence as Will New Era suffers a defeat 2 for 4 in favor of Resurgence.
Yeah, it looks like Will New Era is having such a hard time not having 1717 in these fights, because definitely their composition is absolutely geared towards having a 5-man stack on one lane. It's just that they're having a hard time because Will New Era has to defend as well. But right now, 1717, the revenge play against Muwachi and Zaze. That's a double kill, 4-0. Go over to Will New Era, although Aris is going to have a free push over the bot lane with that out inner turret, and that's going to be another problem here for Will New Era. They're slowly opening the wound so that they can fester in it later, and this is actually kind of looking a bit bad for Will New Era.
I have to agree with you there, Rockhard. You have to take note of what happened there. That was just Will New Era, even though they didn't quite go in together, but that was all 5 members exhausting a lot to have gone for that salvation play towards top side. Imagine what would happen later on once Aris is actually joining the fray with the rest of Resurgence. That could be quite tricky here for the members of Will New Era. They need to kind of start making plays that would otherwise push their advantages, because slowly, even though they're up on kills, gold deficit is building up towards Resurgence. You have to take note, not a single turret taken by the side of Will New Era, just these Abyssal Dragons.
That's right, and that's why their gold is suffering just so much. Good news is they have a lot of standing gold to take once they get ramping, but they really need to push the fight further if they want to make a win. Aris is just going to stumble again. We're going to see this time and time again as this game progresses. 1717 against Aris, just duking it out. And now, because of the zoning that was created by Resurgence, they're going to get Dragon for themselves. But right now, Miggy wants to do more hero plays.
Yes, looks like he's going to immediately get that Alice right off the bat, but that's going to be Lunky and Aris dealing in on the fray to allow Zace to deal from the backline. Looks like Will Nu'ira might be in an unfavorable situation here. Maybe he's going to try to go in, but Zace is just dealing too much for the members of Will Nu'ira to deal with. 1717 and Benz are the only members surviving. Not really ideal. These aren't the carries that you want to remain on Will Nu'ira. That's going to be the takedown. Is that going to be the cleanup? That will be the ace, and it goes to Singapore's Resurgence.
Clean ace there by Singapore's Resurgence. That is amazing. That is the power of a super buff Violet as well as super farm Aegis. I think they can go for the win now.
Yes, that is going to be the finish right there. Rubik's going to be up in 7, but that's not going to be enough. The core went down way too fast, and that's going to be game 1 going to Resurgence.
Well played there by Resurgence. Absolutely deserved that game.
Yeah.
And this is actually the steam that we're talking about from Resurgence going off over that fight against Malaysia. Singapore is really on a roll here, and that is because mainly of the Violet and the Joker composition. I think this worked so well for them. These actually look like heroes that they're so comfortable playing in, and I think that factored into it. A lot of the plays, there were so many times that Will was actually trying to go in, 41% damage to heroes just from Miggy, so they had to rely on Miggy a lot in those fights. I think this was because of a lot from the snowball that happened in the earlier parts of the game, where a lot of the fights in the red zone got picked off, and that was because Rubik's was not level for it, and they opted to go for fights. And that's pretty smart for Resurgence to push those fights, even though they were not in a very comfortable position yet, because they were confident in the power of their composition.
I gotta say as well, Zace was absolutely phenomenal on this Violet. Will Nu'ira, that's the interesting thing though. Earlier on, they kind of got it going on with Miggy on this Murad, but at the end of the day, Miggy alone, sure, he dishes out quite a bit of damage, but he wasn't quite enough if you're going to look at the overall composition coming in from Will Nu'ira. They had quite a lot of tanky elements. This L'Oreal, Gambit wasn't able to quite catch up on the damage. That would have been much more substantial had that L'Oreal been up
big
to
damage threats. Exactly. I think L'Oreal, we had to give him props. He looked like he was really trying.
Yeah.
He was in the middle of that. You remember that fight on the top lane?
Oh, yeah.
He was fighting so many people at the same time, going around and trying to buy as much time as possible. It's just that 1717 was not in optimal position at that time, so he couldn't use the L'Oreal to its maximum potential.
Right.
But props to Resurgence again. Absolutely good game 1. It wasn't as one-sided as we thought it might have been because of the picks. Because as you said, Resurgence had a really powerful pick composition, and they kind of used it really well. In the early games, they stopped Will Nu'ira in their tracks, and that's absolutely good. That I can't wait to see what they're going to bring out in game 2.
I'd have to agree with you, Rockhart. So there you have it. That was just game 1, guys. I know some of you are itching to get into those codes, so we're going to grant you that opportunity. We've been Casters Arctic Eddie Service Fam with me as Rockhart. Stay tuned for game 2. Let's see if Will Nu'ira can take it back, equal 1-1, or Resurgence surge up to a 2-0.